Our next guest worked as a website designer and search engine optimization specialist for 4 years before he finally snapped, I guess. After going out on his own, he started a free online dating service called Mingle2 and a website called The Oatmeal, on which he featured drawings, lists, illustrated articles, and rants, lots of which were about the people he'd worked with back in his web design and optimization days. Just a few of the titles include How to Use an Apostrophe, How a Web Design Goes Straight to Hell, 5 Reasons to Have Rabies Instead of Babies, 8 Ways to Prepare Your Pets for War, and 8 Ways to Tell if your loved one is trying to eat you. Now that website gets over 4 million unique visitors a month, but none as unique as its creator. He has now put many of those pieces into a book called 5 Very Good Reasons to Punch a Dolphin in the Mouth and Other Useful Guides. Please welcome the Oatmeal's Matthew Inman to Livewire. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thanks for having me.
So you started this website, and it largely, in the beginning, I think, was just cartoons about things that annoyed you a little bit. Did you imagine that this was what was going to happen with this website?
No, I mean, my goals with it were pretty modest. I just wanted to make a website that was autonomous, a website that could support me enough that I didn't have to work for someone. So to see it go where it is now is wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And you're a writer, a designer, a developer, a marketer, and an illustrator, all self-taught. How the hell did you do that?
Well, a lot of those things are all kind of meshed together because, I work on a computer. But basically from maybe the age of 13 or so, I just started using computers, sometimes upwards of 16 hours a day. And I'm 28 now, so that's a lot of time on a computer, basically.
Yeah.
That's the disappointing answer for you.
So I read some of the articles that you had written about search engine optimization and ways to make websites not suck. And it was interesting because you were funny when you wrote these articles. You generally don't read articles like that are as funny as the ones that you did. Was there a certain point at which you decided, oh, I'm just going to be funny. I'm not going to write about this stuff anymore?
Yeah, it was actually one comic in particular. Like, basically, my job had become making funny things in order to market something. And I found it was kind of an awkward fit. It would be like a concert pianist doing Little Debbie commercials. Not that there's anything wrong with Little Debbie. She is delicious. It's just not a good fit. And when I was working at the dating site, I made a comic called How to Tell If Your Cat is Plotting to Kill You. And something like 6 million people read it over the course of a summer. And that's when I was like, you know what, I need to be doing comedy. I need to be doing comic art. I don't need to be doing this marketing thing anymore.
Well, and what you do and the way that you made your website so hugely successful was that you so perfectly have integrated highly technical skills with creative skills. Where, for you, is that line between creative and technical?
The technical stuff I've always kind of been a hack at. Like, to an outsider, it looks like I'm good at it, but I'm not. I'm terrible at math. I'm not that great at programming. I've always been better at the creative stuff, drawing things. So that's kind of where it's drawn.
And you talk about linkbait a lot in the articles that you've written in the past. Can you explain what linkbait is?
Sure. So my previous career, I guess, before the Oatmeal, my job, like I said, was to market websites. And oftentimes what I would do is I would make these things, like comics, quizzes, and funny things, in order to draw in links from the internet, in order to rank at Google. So, for example, if I got 1 million people to link to livewireradio.org. Right?
Yes, please.
.com.
Yeah.
Linking to it about barbecued kittens. Then if you Googled barbecued kittens, your site would actually show up first. That's how that works. So my job was create content about maybe not barbecued kittens, but other terms that are a bit more commercially lucrative, and in turn rank for that. Mm-hmm. But I don't do that anymore, and I found it was kind of a brittle business model. So now I just do comics, and I try to focus on that.
What do you mean by brittle business model?
Well, if you rank for barbecued kittens, and suddenly Google's like, wait, they've totally cheated the system. They've got 1 million links coming from who knows where. Mm-hmm. So they pull the plug, and your whole business was based on selling these things. Mm-hmm. Then your business is gone. So I decided I don't like this business model. I feel it was kind of a slimy, greasy marketing thing. And like I said, I thought I was better at comedy. So gave it up.
Well, and you are a funny person. And humor is so subjective. Has there been anything that you've created that you absolutely loved that just didn't hit?
Yeah, there was this one, it was a comic called Hungover Aliens. And you know those chest bursters from the Aliens movies?
From Aliens, sure.
It was just two of those having a dialogue over the toilet, and they're hungover, and they're just throwing up and talking about their night. And one of them made out with a Doberman Pinscher and what happened. And I thought it was funny, and that my humor did not seem to coincide with my readers, because like the first comment on the page was, worst comic ever. So I actually took it down. I was ashamed. I ran into the hills to live with the birds and the beasts because I just couldn't. It's gone now. So,
yeah. I mean, it's a difficult thing making funny things all the time, but you seem extremely prolific at it. And a lot of your stuff does have to do with things that kind of drive you crazy, or like people who can't handle punctuation, that kind of thing. Is it somewhat difficult for you to find things to write about, or is humanity just sort of an endless well of annoyance?
There's a big gold mine of comedy out there, I think, and oftentimes too, what I'll do is I'll pick something I think is interesting and focus on that. For instance, I found out about pigs and the fact that a pig can run a 7-minute mile, right? That's impressive. Pig is the 4th smartest mammal, and a pig can actually squeal at 115 decibels, which is 2 decibels higher than a jet engine. And more important than any of that, a pig orgasm lasts continuously for 30 minutes. And these types of things I feel are ripe for comedy, right? So that's how they become comics. And actually, since making that comic, I've thought about the whole orgasm thing. And I was thinking about how delicious bacon is. And I was wondering maybe, like, it marinades. It's like a 30-minute marinade. So next time you eat it, just remember that.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting. I've learned some stuff from your website, like that I never have to buy my cat night vision goggles because their cats have visions that are night vision that's 6 times better than ours.
1/6 our light level they can see in the dark.
Yeah, and is it the anglerfish?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the anglerfish?
Yeah, so basically the angler he's this male fish that's born. When he's born, he's worthless. His senses don't work properly. He can't see, he can't do anything. The only thing that works well in him is his sense of smell. And the only thing that he can smell well is the pheromones of a female. And he will actually spend his whole life looking for the female. And when he finds the female, she is the anglerfish from Finding Nemo, the one with the massive jaws and the glowing light. She's got like a chainsaw for a face. It's just this wonderful fish. And he sees her, and he's like, I'm in love. Something beautiful, something wonderful. I found the smell. So he starts nibbling on her. His body, actually, while he nibbles on her, fuses into hers. And the only thing that's left of him is a pair of testicles hanging off the side of her. So basically, he spends his whole life starved and hungry in order to become a pair of balls on a female, right? And as a man, that is the most awful thing I have ever heard. So I like to bring things like that to life.
Where did you read about the anglerfish?
A friend of mine years ago was like, yeah, anglerfish has it bad. And she just told me like this. And she's like, he becomes a pair of balls. And it just stayed in my head for years. And then finally, I've made a comic about it. So kind of an unsung hero, I thought.
Right.
In the undersea world.
Well, who do you read? Who do you think is funny? Who do you find funny?
Probably David Sedaris, Eddie Izzard. As far as comic goes, Perry Bible Fellowship is really funny.
That's a website?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, subversive humor. He doesn't write comics anymore, which is a shame.
Oh, yeah, that's too bad.
Good source of inspiration for me.
One of my favorite comics of yours is where you explain why Twilight is so successful. Is there anything that's out there right now for you that's out in pop culture that you'd love to kind of attack again?
I want to try and find something new to make fun of because it's a really, really good source of comedy. Like, I wanted to do one about Justin Bieber, a comic about him, because I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't dislike him, I just think he should be fired into the sun, something like that. So instead of making a comic, I made a quiz about him called How Many 5-Year-Olds Could You Take in a Fight? And you tell how tall you are, how strong you are, and it'll tell you could take 30 Biebers in a fight, or 26 Biebers in a fight. And I changed the quiz so that when you take it, it'll actually tweet your score. And it tweets, I could take 26 at Justin Bieber's in a fight. So if you get what that means, like every day for a year, thousands of people tweet at Justin Bieber how many of him they could take in a fight. So every time I'm having a bad day, I just remember that. My heart grows 3 sizes.
Well, that's actually one of the things that I wanted to ask. Now that you're your own boss, do you feel like you're living your ideal life? Does this feel pretty perfect to you?
No, it's awful. I work at home, and I have to be creative all day, and I start making conversation with houseplants because I'm just like, there's nobody there, and I've got my dogs running around spraying shit all over the walls, and that kind of thing. So,
not your ideal life?
No, I think it'll get better though.
Well, what would be your ideal life, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe I want to get an office. I don't work at home very well, as I'm learning after 4 years in. So, yeah, maybe getting an office.
Yeah, there's great shared creative spaces that you could get. I'm not quite sure who would be comfortable sharing a space with you.
I'll leave the dogs at home at least.
Right.
They have bowel problems.
Right.
I hinted at that earlier.
Do you have this book, and you've been going around. You've been doing readings, but you don't actually read from the book.
No, I found if I open my comic book and read from it, it's like the humor goes into the shower and hangs itself. It's just so terrible.
Yeah.
So typically I just talk and tell stories.
Have you thought about doing any other kinds of writing, like screenplays or?
I've had some interest in screenplays. I wouldn't know how to write that though. What actually interests me more would be animated shorts, like 2-minute animated films. I think I could do.
And well, in these, a lot of the stuff that you find in the book could definitely be animated.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one called The Bobcats. It's actually not in the book. It's a newer one. There's these 2 cats wear ties, and they'd be great as a cartoon.
Well, the audience wants to see
Good.
it. So what can people look forward to next from you?
I'm writing a new book right now. It'll be out the same time next year. And then just tons more new comics and hopefully those animated shorts I was talking about.
Wonderful. Well, the book is 5 Very Good Reasons to Punch a Dolphin in the Mouth and Other Useful Guides. The author is Matthew Inman. Thanks so much for joining us, Matthew.
Thanks for having me.